Hey guys, it's Dan with Warpaint JKU. If you've ever had Death Wobble, you're definitely going to want to watch this video. What is Death Wobble? To answer that question, I'm going to just start off by saying that most of you probably think that you've experienced Death Wobble, and you actually haven't. All you've experienced is a little shimmy in your steering wheel. A little shimmy is not Death Wobble, okay? That is usually caused by either an improper wear, an uneven wear in your tire from not rotating them often enough and using mud tires. As a rule of thumb, mud tires should always be rotated about every 2,500 miles. Most people don't do that. And then if your alignment isn't perfect, heck, even if it is, you're gonna wind up with an uneven wear pattern, maybe some cupping on those tires, and that's gonna cause that little shimmy or vibration. The other thing that's gonna affect that could be the balance of your tire. Now, a quick, easy fix to avoid balance issues in your tire, I'm gonna recommend that you go check out my balance bead video because they do great things, especially for really big tires on bead locks. Now, when you actually have Death Wobble, okay? The dreaded Death Wobble. What that is an extremely violent shaking in the steering wheel, not this little shimmy stuff. I mean, it's big time, like inches back and forth in either direction. You can actually, if you can stick your head out the window and actually see your tires, you'll notice them wobbling back and forth. And it's definitely something that can be a little bit scary. It's also something that can happen in any solid front axle vehicle, okay? Now, there are a number of different things that cause it, and I've seen a lot of people over the years stick Band-Aids on an otherwise larger problem just because they don't know any better. And then, of course, that Band-Aid, just like most Band-Aids that we've all used, they eventually peel off, and then the problem is back, and then you stick another Band-Aid on it, and meanwhile, other suspension components just continue to get worse and worse and worse. So, let's dive underneath the rig. Let me show you all of the things that usually cause Death Wobble and what you should investigate, what's normal, what's not normal. And like I said, and like most of you know, this rig has a Super Duty Dana 60 under it, but that doesn't matter because I still have all the same suspension components that your Dana 44, your Dana 30, all of those are gonna have. So again, let's dive on under the rig. Let's check it out. All right, guys, so here is the front axle underneath Warpaint. Now, as you can see, this front axle, like I said a second ago, it is a Dana 60. So it's a little bit different looking, but all the suspension components are essentially the same. Now, every solid front axle vehicle is going to have this bar here connecting from your knuckle on one side of the Jeep to straight across to the knuckle on the other side of the Jeep. This bar is called your tie rod. Now guys, your tie rod bar will rock like this. It does not matter what links you have on the ends, none of that matters. A lot of people sit there and say, oh, is this causing my Death Wobble? No. I understand it's loose, right? So that is a little bit alarming, but something like this will not cause your Death Wobble. Now, side to side movement, this bar should not have that. If your vehicle is sitting on the ground and you can grab this bar and you can push it and pull it and it moves side to side at all, okay? That means your tie rod end links are gonna be bad, they're gonna be worn, they're gonna need to be replaced. That can cause Death Wobble. Something else that can cause Death Wobble, your steering stabilizer. I'm just kidding. Steering stabilizers do not cause any type of Death Wobble. All those people out there that are going to tell you that your steering stabilizer needs to be replaced, stay away from those people. Don't listen to them, all right? File them under the list that says that they have no idea what they're talking about. Steering stabilizers do not cause Death Wobble. Just to prove it to you, if your vehicle is aligned properly, the tires are new, and they're balanced correctly, you can drive your rig down the road without a steering stabilizer, hit all the bumps you want, and you will never experience a shimmy or Death Wobble. Now, the stabilizer is like a shock. The enemy of all shocks is heat. So as your steering stabilizer moves back and forth, trying to hide the Death Wobble, okay, it's getting hot. And as it continues to do that over miles and miles, you will wear the seals in your steering stabilizer. It will leak out fluid. and then all of a sudden it won't do its job and you'll feel the death wobble. So a lot of people think that they need a new steering stabilizer because when they replace their steering stabilizer, magically the death wobble is better. But what you gotta realize is that it's hiding the real issue, and it's just gonna cause that steering stabilizer to work overtime again until it gets hot enough, till the seals fail, and then you're gonna be right back where you were replacing that steering stabilizer. Next to this bar up here called your drag link. Your drag link essentially runs from your pitman arm, okay, which is this, all the way down, usually to the passenger side knuckle, okay? And it kind of attaches in the same vicinity where that tie rod did that we just talked about. Now, this, if the bushings are bad, right, on either end, either on the pitman arm end or on the axle end, this can also cause a little bit of a loose feeling and some wobbly. It's also red. You can kind of see it up over in the background over there. It kind of dips down and then goes down and connects on your axle right over here. That is going to be what's called your track bar. Now, there's a couple of common issues with a track bar that affect Jeeps specifically, but again, any solid front axle vehicle. You have a bushing on this side where it attaches to the frame. You have a bushing on that side where it attaches to the axle. If those bushings are worn, that can cause your entire axle to kind of shift underneath the vehicle and give you death wobble. But on the JKs, because the axle bracket over here on your Jeep is so thin, sometimes the bolt that goes through the bolt hole in that bracket will kind of oval out. Now what that means is that the bolt hole is no longer round, so it allows the bolt, even though it's tight, even though your bushings might be good, allows the bolt to kind of move back and forth a little bit within the hole, and sometimes that can also cause it. Next thing that could have caused your issue, the good old ball joints. Ball joints are going to be what connect your knuckle, okay, which hold your brake rotor and your brake caliper, to your axle C. This is your axle C because it looks like the letter C. You have one on the top, you have one on the bottom. If those ball joints wear, okay, that's also going to cause your wheels to do some funny things. That can also give you death wobble. All right, another common thing that can also cause death wobble can be your unit bearing or your hub bearing. The part of your wheel that your brake rotor sits on, that your wheel actually bolts to. That can loosen up over time, especially if you're running larger tires. Heck, even if you're not running larger tires, and it can cause excessive play, and that can definitely cause death wobble. Okay, guys. Now, how do we figure out what's causing our death wobble? Because there's obviously a lot of things that can cause it. Well, it's pretty simple, okay? First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna check all of the cheap, inexpensive things that don't cost you any money. Things like nuts and bolts on all of those suspension components. Make sure they're tight, make sure they're torqued. You can find those torque specs on the internet for your particular year and model Jeep. The other thing that you can do is lay your cell phone, if you're by yourself or have a friend, get underneath the Jeep, set the camera up so that it's pointing at the particular end links that we talked about, get back in the driver's seat, and turn the steering wheel just slightly back and forth, right? Passenger, driver, and look for weird movement that doesn't match. If all of that stuff checks out and you still have a wobbling shimmy issue, jack up your front tires, okay? Once your front tire is off the ground, grab the top of the tire with one hand, grab the bottom of the tire with the other hand, and pull the bottom of the tire out as you push the top of the tire toward the engine, and then vice versa, and try to rock it in a motion that it shouldn't. You shouldn't have any play in there. If you do have play in there, that would be considered either a ball joint, but probably a unit bearing. And last but certainly not least, it's a very common issue in these Jeeps, and I did do a video on how to change them out, the ball joints. The way you're gonna wanna check those is, again, jack the vehicle off the ground, take like a long crowbar or a pry bar, put it underneath the tire on the ground, and kind of pull up on the pry bar, taking pressure off the tire. And if you see any movement in those ball joints, again, with a friend, either you doing the deal with the crowbar and you watching, or set up a video camera, set up your cell phone, right? Point it at those ball joints and watch for movement. If you see any ball joint movement, your ball joints are bad. That could also be causing your problem. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helps a lot of people. I know we talked about a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff to look at. Stay tuned. Definitely hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Share this video with anybody that you can. Post it on Facebook. Post it everywhere, because there are so many people out there that are so misinformed about what actually causes death wobble. And again, like I said before, a lot of people, when they're driving their Jeep down the road, they think a little shimmy like this is death wobble. That's not death wobble, guys. Death wobble is like a crazy shimmy in your steering wheel, okay? That would be death wobble driving down the road. This little stuff, that's not death wobble, okay? That's an alignment issue. So guys, like I said, like it, share it, subscribe to the channel, a lot more videos coming.